The stars burned cold above the throne world of Valdoria when the first transmission arrived. King Marcus VII sat upon a seat carved from asteroid iron, listening to the alien voice that spoke in broken human language. The Zithrani Imperium had come. They demanded surrender. They demanded tribute. They demanded that humanity kneel before their superior technology and their ancient civilization that had ruled 1,000 star systems for 10,000 years. The royal court fell silent. Advisors exchanged worried glances. The military commanders gripped their ceremonial swords with whitened knuckles. Everyone in that great hall understood what this message meant. War was coming to the kingdom of Valdoria, and the enemy possessed weapons that could crack planets and ships that blotted out suns. King Marcus rose from his throne slowly. He was not a young man anymore. Gray streaked his dark hair, and lines of worry had carved deep paths across his face. But his eyes remained sharp, and his voice did not shake when he spoke. "Send our reply," he said. "Tell them that the kingdom of Valdoria does not kneel. Tell them that we hold this realm by divine right, granted by powers older than their empire. Tell them that if they want our worlds, they must come and take them." The transmission went out across the void of space. Within hours, the Zithrani response came. It was not words this time. It was ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands. They poured through the jump gates like a flood of darkness, their hulls gleaming with weapons that humanity had never seen before. Admiral Chun stood on the bridge of the Royal Navy flagship, unconquered, and watched the enemy fleet approach on the tactical display. The numbers were not good. For every human ship, there were 20 Zithrani vessels. Their technology was centuries ahead. Their weapons could strike from distances that made human cannons look like children throwing stones. Orders from the King Admiral. The communications officer reported. "We are to hold the line at the Meridian Belt. No enemy ship is to pass." Chun nodded slowly. He understood what this order meant. It meant death for most of his crews. It meant sacrifice on a scale that humanity had not seen since the Great Colonial Wars 300 years ago. But he also understood something else. He understood that behind his fleet lay 12 billion people on 7 worlds, mothers and fathers, children and grandparents, farmers and teachers and artists and dreamers. They were counting on him to buy them time. "All ships," Chun spoke into the fleet channel. "This is Admiral Chun. You know what we face today. You know the odds. But I want you to remember something. Those aliens out there, they think they understand war. They think they understand strength. They have conquered 1,000 worlds with their mighty fleet. But they have never faced humans before. They do not know what we are capable of when we fight for our homes, our families, our very right to exist. Today we teach them. Today we show them why humanity has survived every challenge that the universe has thrown at us." The battle began at 0600 Standard Time. The Zithrani fleet advanced in perfect formation, their ships moving with mathematical precision. They expected an easy victory. They expected the primitive humans to break and run when faced with overwhelming force. They had seen it happen 100 times before with other species. But the human fleet did not run. The first wave of Valdorian fighters launched from their carrier ships and screamed toward the enemy at full burn. They were small craft, barely armed compared to Zithrani interceptors. But they were fast, and they were piloted by men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Squadron leader Maria Santos led her wing directly into the heart of the Zithrani formation. Her targeting computer screamed warnings at her. Enemy weapons locked onto her ship. She ignored them all. She had one job today. She had to reach the enemy command ship and deliver her payload. Around her, pilots died. Ships exploded in silent flowers of fire. But the formation held. They pushed forward through the wall of enemy fire, losing one pilot after another until Maria was alone. Her ship was damaged. Her shields were gone. One engine was failing. but she could see the enemy flagship now. It was massive, bigger than any ship humanity had ever built. Its hull was covered in weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Maria armed her missiles. They were not special weapons. They were standard warheads, the kind that the Zithrani defensive systems could stop easily. But Maria was not aiming at the ship's hull. She was aiming at the gap in their shields that human scientists had discovered just days ago. A tiny weakness that the Zithrani did not even know existed. Her missiles struck true. The explosion tore through the flagship's command deck. The great ship shuddered and began to list to one side. And across the Zithrani fleet, there was a moment of confusion. Their perfect formation wavered. Their coordination faltered. Admiral Chun saw the opening and seized it. "All capital ships forward," he commanded. "Target their damaged vessels. Break their line." The human fleet surged forward like a wave crashing against rocks. They were still outnumbered. They were still outgunned. But they had something the Zithrani did not expect. They had courage that bordered on madness. They had a willingness to sacrifice that the ancient aliens could not understand. The battle raged for 18 hours. Ships died on both sides. The void of space filled with debris and bodies, and the silent screams of dying vessels. The Zithrani threw everything they had at the human fleet. They used weapons that should have ended the fight in minutes. But every time they pushed forward, the humans pushed back. On the planet below, King Marcus watched the battle unfold on the strategic display. His generals urged him to evacuate. They prepared escape ships. They begged him to flee to the outer colonies, where he would be safe. The king refused. "My people are fighting and dying for this kingdom," he said. "I will not abandon them. If we fall today, then I will fall with them. But I do not believe we will fall. I have faith in our people. I have faith in the divine right that guides our kingdom. And I have faith that the universe rewards those who refuse to surrender." In space, the tide began to turn. The Zithrani fleet, so confident at the start, now faced something they had never encountered before. They faced an enemy that would not break. An enemy that kept fighting, even when logic said they should give up. An enemy that turned every defeat into an opportunity, and every loss into a reason to fight harder. The Zithrani Grand Admiral Zethkar watched his fleet crumble and could not understand what was happening. His ships were superior. His weapons were superior. His civilization was ancient when these humans were still living in caves. How could they be losing? He sent new orders to his fleet. Retreat. Regroup. They would return with more ships. They would crush these stubborn primitives with overwhelming force. But the humans did not let them retreat easily. Admiral Chun ordered pursuit. His damaged ships, running on emergency power and held together by desperate repairs, chased the fleeing Zithrani fleet all the way to the jump gates. They destroyed dozens of enemy vessels that were too slow to escape. When the last Zithrani ship vanished through the gate, a strange silence fell over the battlefield. The human crews looked at each other in disbelief. They had won. Against all odds, against an enemy that should have destroyed them, they had won. The news spread across the kingdom like wildfire. In cities and villages, in space stations and orbital habitats, people celebrated. They had faced the might of the greatest military power in the galaxy, and they had survived. But King Marcus did not celebrate. He sat in his war room with Admiral Chun, who had been brought down from orbit to report in person. The admiral looked exhausted. He had not slept in 3 days. His uniform was stained and torn. "They will return," Chun said. This was just their forward fleet. The main body of the Imperium has thousands more ships, millions of soldiers. We hurt them today, but we did not defeat them. King Marcus nodded. "I know, but we have shown them something important. We have shown them that humans do not surrender. We have shown them that divine right is more than words. It is the spirit of a people who believe in something greater than themselves. They came here expecting easy prey. They found a kingdom that would rather die than kneel. The news of the battle spread beyond human space. Other species, other civilizations that had suffered under Zithrani rule, heard about the small kingdom that had defied the Imperium. They heard about the humans who fought like demons and refused to accept defeat. Messages began arriving at the royal court. Offers of alliance, offers of support. Species that had been conquered generations ago saw hope for the first time. If humans could stand against the Zithrani, perhaps others could too. The Grand Admiral Zethkar returned to the Imperial capital to report his failure. He expected punishment. He expected death. What he found instead was fear. The Imperial Council, those ancient beings who had ruled unchallenged for millennia, were afraid. They had seen the recordings of the battle. They had seen humans throw themselves at superior firepower without hesitation. They had seen a species that did not follow the logical rules of war. These humans are dangerous, one council member said. They do not fight like other species. They do not surrender when they should. They do not break when faced with impossible odds. If we cannot crush them quickly, they will become a symbol. Other conquered worlds will rise up. Our empire will face threats from every direction. The decision was made. The Imperium would send its full might against the kingdom of Valdoria. Every available ship, every soldier, every weapon. They would not just defeat the humans. They would erase them from existence. They would make an example that would silence any thoughts of rebellion for another 10,000 years. In his throne room, King Marcus received the intelligence reports about the coming storm. He read the numbers. He understood what they meant. The fleet that would come would be 100 times larger than the one they had just faced. His advisors urged surrender. They begged him to negotiate. Perhaps the Imperium would show mercy if the kingdom submitted now. King Marcus looked at them with eyes that held no fear. "We claim divine right," he said. "They claim might. Today we prove that right can triumph over might when it is held by those who truly believe. They will come again, and we will face them again. And if we must die, then we will die on our feet, fighting for everything we hold sacred. That is the promise I made to our people. That is the promise I intend to keep." He turned to face the great window that looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an empire was preparing for war. But here, in this kingdom built on faith and courage and stubborn human refusal to accept defeat, a different kind of preparation was underway. Forges burned bright. Shipyards worked without rest. And people who had tasted victory once knew that they could taste it again. The universe was about to learn something important about humanity. They were about to learn that divine right, when held by those willing to fight and die for it, could be mightier than any fleet.